All right. Sorry for that. Okay. I dug up an article. I was trying to figure out, or did a search on what the, genetic criteria was to be in the line of succession in the royal family. And my thoughts, my feelings on this are I didn't find anything really for some damn reason, number one. Number two, I did find an article that I find to be interesting, if you will. So it's dated September 26th, 2018. And that's for me is significant because back in October, I think it was either the 13th or the 15th, Meghan was nearly 15 weeks pregnant, according to Us Weekly magazine, with the doll, the first doll. I think that one thing that is not going to happen that should happen. Honestly, Prince William needs to begin to what next is Meghan is shooting for princess. And if you think she isn't, think again and wait till you see the tiara she's going to put on for this thing. I bet it'll be one of Elizabeth II's most prized possessions. I'm thinking of the one that Bea wore to her wedding. And Elizabeth wore to hers. I mean, she is going to begin to shoot for the moon. I have no idea what kind of game she's playing, but I think that King Charles should issue letters patent. Now, I'm thinking there is a damn big possibility that they got word that he was going to issue, what is it called, letters patent, to change some of this stuff, specifically giving children that you can't even prove Meghan had, because we can't. And she was there in England, and she was pregnant for like 90 weeks. And then we see a doll. And then we see definitely a Photoshop picture of Doria. Doria will be there. I bet you Doria will get a title now. What the fuck has she got on him? Or what is she threatening to do? Because as I've said before, and this is sort of piggybacks on the death penalty for drugs, you can make shit up about someone. And you can blackmail them. And I mean, that's what Jeffrey Epstein did. And that's where our government has begun to fall, is they get people in compromised situations. Prince Harry has all these drugs that make you forget what you're doing. I guess he takes something called ketamine, which you lose perception. You lose. I was reading up on this last night. It's sort of like being like if you were to get minor surgery where you didn't have to have your body completely knocked out in a like a coma, where all your muscle activity stopped, or not all, but clearly not your heart and well, in some cases, but well, not, what I mean, in many cases, well, they put a patient on a heart-lung machine, and there are brief moments where the heart is outside of the body, but okay. I guess my point is if he's taking a type of anesthetic. And it's also used as a date rape drug. Could he have, and apparently this is what Epstein did. I guess, like if you look at some character like a Mike Pence or something, yeah, you're looking at situations like that where I believe, that he's had, and then they'll put you in bed with a little boy, and then you wake up and you're like, what did I do? Even if you did or did not do anything. But hey, by the way, we've got you on camera. What? What did I do? And before you know it, you're being controlled by you're the puppet of someone. And so Meghan has made King Charles, her puppet. And so you guys are seeing now, of course, obviously, that he's following the letter of the law, which he is, but he also has the ability to change the law. And I have a feeling perhaps he was going to, because he wanted, and I quote, a slimmed down monarchy, but it doesn't seem slimmed down to me right now when you have fake children. And by the way, I don't have a black and white on that. And no, I don't believe there was a surrogate, because if there was, then fine. But I don't believe there was, and I don't believe she froze her eggs. And by the way, the way Harry talks so lightly about his penis and this, that, and the other thing, and jokes around and tries to be Mr. I'm the man, and I need a cock cushion and all this shit. Chances are he probably is having problems in the bedroom. And I think Meghan is too self-involved to even care about sex. I think that it was different a few years ago, but that's where she's at now. You can hold hands all you want. It doesn't mean shit. Will she make an entrance holding hands with Prince Harry walking into the Abbey? Yes, she will. I mean, they'll be super glued together the whole time. And as I said, she was working on the body surgery and the face surgery. She's still going to end up looking like crap. People say, "Oh, she looked good." No, I'll still be able to point crap out. I still could see crap from her International Women's Day picture. Okay. So I did go out walking, and by the time I did my return, I'm glad I didn't go any further than what I did. I only went, I had to park my car, and I walked about a mile, maybe a little more, and I turned around, came back. On the way back, I started crying at one time, maybe twice, maybe 1.5. I actually had tears because I thought I'd have to crawl. And I had about 3/4 of a mile to go. And the road turned really icy suddenly, and I was slipping. And at one point, I was almost all the way down, and I got myself back up. I mean, like, I was almost all the way down on the ground. And I'm like, I'm going, because when you're slipping and ready to fall, you go, you make a noise. And I was kind of shocked no one heard it. There were people all over the place. The problem is that they are all drinking. There's like a bar. There are a couple of bars, but one in particular, it just where people just sit there and they go slam one after the other, after the other, after the other, and then have a beer, and then do a shot, and then do another shot, and then do another shot, and then do another shot, and then the bartenders drink just as much. And if there are 20 cars out there, and then they'll start their car up, put the keys in, go back, have another beer and another shot, and then they get back in their cars. Well, the keys are already in the ignition. These people could get, I'm surprised the cops aren't, And then, they don't go the speed limit. It would be an easy way to get some revenue for the police, but they're not going to. So I've only seen a sheriff come by here one time this whole winter, and he did pull me over to ask me if I was okay. I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. But usually people pull me over and they'll think, my car broke down or something, because no one does anything really around here, especially on a really bad road. Though tonight, I think people were just, I don't know. There is a huge group of people here at the moment, or in the area, and they're wasted. So I honestly wish I could, try to. I said to myself, I said, I'm calling FEMA. I mean, there should be a way for pedestrians to move around, but everything is quite icy and whatnot. They have groomers here, trail groomers actually for the snowmobile trails. But what it does is it gives the trail traction. It's like a tractor that comes through and it gives the trail traction. The problem is that I did kind of veer off on that for quite a bit, and did help, but it was sort of like hiking in the mountains, if you will, where it gets kind of muddy or soft. But it was ice, an inch of snow with what was basically slush. And we have had people that have been killed this year. And I'll tell you, one of them, a mother had her 8-year-old daughter sitting in front of her, and she was driving a snowmobile, hit a tree, and the little girl died right away. That was in Michigan. And there was, I think, a 50-something-year-old woman that was out with her husband. They each had a sled, and she hit a tree because you're hitting the ice. And then you're, putting the throttle up, and boom. And that the tree, hitting the tree has been a common cause of death in this winter here, which is kind of bizarre. Or it's really sad because people, they're not reading these reports and they're not using common sense. I mean, I've seen people running around in slippers. I'm like, then they don't look like they're in very good shape. And I'm thinking to myself, those are the people that get into accidents. I think maybe, accidents, it could happen to anyone. At any rate, so I do understand that Chuck legally had to follow the law, but I have a feeling that he was going to change something. She got wind of it because she has spies and plants in there, believe me. And she crafted this baptism with with the government operative. I mean, yeah, he of course they have connections to the government. I wanted to show you something quickly. Um, so this is the funeral that Trump was president. This is the funeral that I'm sorry, the Reverend Curry, I'm sorry, who, I don't know, dubbed this John Taylor a bishop. This Curry, okay, who's a protege of Cohen's, James Cohen, who is the Chicago person, I believe. Well, I mean, Curry was born in Chicago with that whole clan. With that, I mean, we're talking communists. And Curry preaches Black liberation theology as his protege, or a spin-off or a contemporary is the Reverend Wright. And then they are very much anti-empire, anti-colony, anti-colonialism, anti-monarchy. Doria will probably be at the coronation, probably wearing some sort of a tiara. Maybe, I don't know. But these are not really good people. But if you're presiding over, let's look at this one. Over this, Jimmy Carter sleeping. I'm surprised he was even able to stay awake. Play video. I wanted to view the image. Trump, Melania, dick face, really looking bitter. Sitting next to Clinton. See, the Obama, the Obamas and the Clintons don't really get along, but you got Cheney behind them. You got Hillary right there. Jimmy Carter sleeping and Rosalind next to him. Now I'm really surprised, like Michelle and these ladies wore pantsuits. Usually Michelle doesn't wear pantsuits. I mean, I'm not saying she hasn't, but she normally would wear a dress for a ceremony like this. I'm just saying, for whatever reason, she decided to put on a pantsuit, which is fine. Hillary, I don't think, has had a dress on for like 50 years. Since the early 90s anyway. But I guess Barack and Melania were like being palsy, and it pissed off Michelle. So, like, when you're doing a funeral for something like this, you just don't happen to be, and you just did something over in Great Britain with the British royal family. It's not just a coincidence. Huh. All right. Finished with that. So I find this article. So this is before Meghan announces her fake pregnancy, her first fake pregnancy. You're a pregnant girl. That was her first pregnancy on Oprah. Doesn't the palace normally announce this shit? Or Buckingham Palace announce the birth, or excuse me, the pregnancies or the conceptions or whatever. Listen to this. Oh, I mean, and she's going to be right out there, boy. What's her name? Bitch. I'm referring to Rachel. So this is like 2 weeks before she announced. And she essentially did at Eugenie's wedding. Couldn't a job. Listen to this. This is Cosmopolitan. September 26, 2018. Could an adopted child ever become the king or queen of England? It would mean changing tradition in a big way. The royal family loves protocol and tradition like the Kardashians. This is sort of stupid. Like the Kardashians love social media, which is to say a lot. This is silly. That's a silly comparison. And they take it all seriously. These royal title rules range from serious, like the rule that prohibits peers from flying together in case of crash. Well, they do, it's the same thing with the president and the vice president. Anyway, to cute. Like Prince George wearing shorts all the time. This is silly. To downright trivial, like the informal but strictly adhered to beauty mandate against colorful nail polish. Well, Meghan's already said fuck you to that, right? And she'll probably have black polish on for that coronation. Many experts who believe the royal family's strict adherence to tradition is a source of comfort for their subjects. No, really. It's comforting to see a structure that seems to create a semblance of order. Dr. Donna Rockwell, a clinical psychologist who specializes in celebrity and fame, recently told Glamour. In the same way, I think when an adult is feeling a sense of inner chaos, it's comforting. What? Even neurologically speaking, to be able to observe something of structure, I see what they're saying. And we feel comforted. There's actually a neurological response of relaxation that occurs in us. Seeing the queen and the granddaughters in law and the line of succession. Rockwell continued. On the topic of heirs, though, there's a question that might nag at the most curious royal followers. Read. People who spend way, way too much time talking about the royal family and its future, like yours truly. Namely, this is really childish, but anyway, namely, what would happen if someone in the royal family adopted a child? Would that child be included in the line of succession? What does the law say about an adopted child being the king or queen of England? The historical answer is a firm no. Not going to happen. Now, why would this come out right before she presents with the Moonbump? To create support? A member of the royal family is unlikely to adopt a child. They are more like to adopt. Wouldn't it be likely? I knew I'd find a grammar or spelling error right away. To adopt a Labrador retriever, unless I'm wrong. Adopted children would not have succession rights or a title. Marlene Koenig, an internationally recognized expert on British and European royalty behind the website Royal Musings, explains, to have succession rights, you have to be a Protestant descendant of the Electress Sophia. I think that was changed. Or no, you can marry a Catholic right now. If you're like Electress, who now? Don't worry, you're not alone. Basically, after Queen Anne's reign in the early 18th century ended on her death in 1714, the British throne was going to pass to her cousin Sophia of Hanover. Anne had no heirs, but Sophia died less than 2 months before she was set to take the throne, and the crown passed to her oldest son, who we now know as King George I. Now, everyone knows who becomes monarch has to be descended from Sophia, since she and her line took over the throne from Queen Anne. This excludes adopted children. Koenig continues. A member of the royal family is unlikely to adopt a child. They're more likely to adopt a Labrador retriever. I don't know. Okay. These basic rules of the line of succession were established a long time ago by the 1701 Act of Settlement. Still, the times they are a-changin', and the royal family does go against tradition from time to time. There was a time not too long ago when Meghan Markle wouldn't have been allowed to marry Prince Harry because she's a divorcee, for example. And the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 changed line of succession to include daughters in birth order. In the past, female heirs were displaced in the line of succession by their brothers, like Princess Anne, who comes after her younger brothers, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, and their respective children. But see, now it's too late. They forced Chuck's hand. Now that they have gotten the titles, he can't. I think that what he could do is say that DNA must be presented to the crown in order to remain in the line of succession. I mean, that would create a huge stir, but Would it? But then they'd expose the lie. Okay. Will the royal family allow adopted children into the line of succession in the future? Good question. Why would this come up at this point, right after Meghan's 39th birthday or 38th or whatever? So, is this adoption rule the kind of thing the royals are likely to change too? Modern royal experts are torn. It would take an act of parliament to pass a new law including adoptees as heirs to the throne, a royal commentator Eloise Parker says. And while such an act is feasible, so far there hasn't been any need to make it happen. And there definitely won't be any for several years, several decades, how do we know? Even to come. The next time it could even be an issue when, or if, but probably when, Prince George decides to start a family. Until then, the line of succession is all set with biological heirs. Why might the British family decide not to allow an adopted child into the line of succession? The arguments against the likelihood of a royal family changing the line of succession to include adopted children all basically come down to variations of the royals like tradition, and British people like it too. Well, here's another little ditty for the idiot that wrote this article, unless they have it coming up. I mean, Kate and William could adopt 5 more children then, right? And they'd be included. A lot of families do that. I want you guys to think about that. And they could, like I said, adopt 3 or 4 more kids, have a 6-child family, which I suppose isn't that much out of line. It's maybe a generation or 2 old, but okay. And kick all the other people way down. You get how that might work? You can make all the laws you want, but at some point, especially here in US politics, I always say it could come back to kick you in the ass because someone else is going to use it and they're going to twist that law, and they're going to use it against you. Please see the Patriot Act. At the time you're thinking, yeah, and now it's being used to basically take every single piece of privacy away from you and take control of your bodies. The British royal family are moving with the times, but it's a slow process because the unchanging traditions surrounding them are a huge part of their appeal. While politics is unpredictable, the royal family stays the same, and that forms a big part of Britain's national identity. Royal commentator and Royal Central Deputy Editor Jamie Samhan says that another reason the royal family is unlikely to change this particular rule is to avoid angering members of the family who would be affected by amending the line of succession. I think it was quite a big deal for them to change the line of succession for Charlotte, Samhan says. There would be too many family members upset. It's nothing I could see happening for at least another 100 years. In addition to the difficulties that a royal would face in changing the line of succession to include an adopted child, Parker says another obstacle would come even sooner trying to adopt at all as a royal. All British families have to undergo strict vetting to become adoptive parents. And members of the royal family would be no different. Although they obviously have the financial means to adopt, their high public profile could be an issue. I doubt it. But okay. So, British royal family would almost certainly be approved as adopted parents. They're also known to value their children's privacy immensely. So they might not want to put an adopted child through that scrutiny. It would be more likely that they would quietly sponsor a child or a number of children to make regular visits rather than put them through the tantrum of public life. Are we seeing that now? I don't know how much longer I want to read this articles because okay, I mean, they're not, okay. Why might the British royal family decide to buck tradition and allow an adopted child into the line of succession? If an adopted child did make his or her way into the line of succession in our lifetimes, we'd probably have Kate Middleton to thank for it. What the fuck does that mean? Sam Hent says that if Prince George were to want to adopt someday, for example, his hypothetical child's royal fate would depend almost entirely on who happened to be monarch at the time. Why Prince George are they using? If Prince Charles was king by the time George becomes of marrying age, well, I mean, whoever wrote this article wasn't really thinking clearly. The Queen was almost 100 years old. I mean, George would have to be at least 18, and that's pretty young in this day and age. So, I mean, whoever wrote this wasn't really even thinking, but that's okay. He's more traditional. I think he would definitely say to George, you need to have a biological child to keep that bloodline. At this point, I'm thinking we can throw that sentence out the window. You need to have a biological child to keep the bloodline? No. But if it was William on the throne, Kate is such a protective mother, I think she's really just going to want what's best for her children. And if George didn't want to have a biological child and just wants to adopt, I think she'd defend his right no matter what. This is getting weird. Regardless, while an adopted child might not be welcomed into the line of succession, experts agree it would definitely be welcomed into the family. Just a few decades ago, royal traditionalists inside palace walls would have forbidden Prince Harry from marrying Meghan Markle. What? Oh, because of the divorce situation? Today, she's been welcomed with open arms as a senior member of the royal family. Well, we're still a long way from knowing whether an adopted child would ascend to the throne. We should certainly expect them to be welcomed into the family. Is that it with this morning article? I think that's it. Okay. So I want you guys to think about how this little piece of writing was put out. I think Meghan knew she could never have kids. And this is one of, these are her people, right, Cosmo? And they were sort of speculating. So, well, we'll see what happens then, I guess. I've got to try to get out of this thing now. Oh, okay. Oh, this is getting... I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just having... Well, let me try to get out of here. Okay. I apologize. Just you can leave now if you want.